after the war to end all wars. Brody's grandfather vowed to bow to no man's law but his own. To live and breathe, to live and die, truly free. They built their world brick by brick, house by house, and for generations their legacy endured. But they lived in a world within a world, and now the outside is closing in. And out there, evil runs amok. And after all the blood and all the horror, there is just one battle left. Brody says, don't do evil. Blood, red snow.
The glory, the spectacle, the horror, the victory, the life, the legend. Knievolution, Son of Evil, the Robbie Canal story. Available on Amazon and Audible.com this fall.
Call it the Madd Maxx. It's kind of an interesting kind of car. I got a little bit of its styling and name because of where it's kind of come from. It has been used in some movies. It's kind of had some rough and tumble lifestyle that's kind of gone around it. Before it got its name, we saw that it had some bashes here and some things there, and just the ambiance of the car kind of brought the name out in it. And as you see the car, it looks very aggressive. It's more of that Madd Maxx style. We've got a 1970 Ford Mustang. It's got a 545 Super Cobra Jet, pushing about 800 horsepower. Sitting on 17-inch 454 mag wheels, QA1 race shocks on it, fully adjustable rear 4-link with coilovers. Full custom interior, all red stitch, vinyl with a custom carpet kit and a rear seat delete, full roll cage. Started building the car and going through the different transitions of making this, we wanted it to be as street-worthy as possible, but as aggressive as possible in different ways. So Madd Maxx, it's full manual steering, manual brakes, carbureted, 800 horsepower, raw, in your face, and so just something that would be, you know, the presence of the name. All right, let's talk about the motor that's in the Madd Maxx here just a little bit. So 545 Super Cobra Jet started out as the original 427 4-bolt main. Went through and added a whole bunch of things to it, did a few different builds, and we'll talk about a few of those items that we have on the motor today. We ended up going with a Holley carburetor, 1100 CFM. And that is fed through an Edelbrock Performer manifold that has been port matched to the TrickFlow CO1 325 heads. All of those together allow this motor to breathe like a dragon. It's the only way that you're going to be able to get the air into a beast like this. You've got to have big carburetor, big intake, big heads, big valves to be able to get that power to, you know, hit the ground. Ignition system, another big part of being able to make good power. We went with MSD Digital 6AL ignition system, a MSD Pro Billet distributor. We ran full custom 8.5 millimeter spark plug wires, MSD Blaster 2 coil, and all that allows us to generate a lot of ignition power to make a good combustion inside of that chamber. Have a billet aluminum single belt drive system, a little amount of horsepower that's lost from that. We wanted to make sure to have no power steering, no accessories whatsoever on this motor. We wanted to make as much power as we possibly could. So an alternator, obviously the minimum that you need to make sure that your car is running on the road. You can see some of these hoses and some of the breather system that we have set up. We like to use this vehicle on the racetrack every now and then, and in order to do that, you have to have a oil catch system. And so all of our valve covers have been fitted with special breathers that allow all of the tubes to run back into an oil catch breather for any type of racing situation. The radiator that you're using is a Sumitomo, a 4-core aluminum radiator. Really nice radiator. Make sure that we can keep this thing cool. It's a cross-flow radiator, and that means that the fluid passages goes across the core rather from the top to the bottom and allows for better cooling. And as far as cooling, another big issue we need to make sure is you cool the oil. So we have a large Canton 8.5 quart oil pan, a deep sump system on that, high volume oil pump, making sure that we can get enough oil through this thing, keeping it cool as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about the interior on the Madd Maxx. We did a few different things in here to kind of make this custom for our own little style. This is one of our shop cars, so this is our styling. You know, black on red, vinyl stitch, hook loop, carpet. We did a dash overlay, push to start ignition system, all of our battery kill switches and everything like that for our race setup to be able to have quick access from the driver. Hydraulic turn brake, that makes it to where I can drift and do those real fancy turns in the corners without having the old school foot brake on the side. It's a little bit harder to be able to do that. Using a Wilwood master cylinder, Wilwood brake proportioning valve. Both of those together allow us to be able to stop the vehicle with our foot brake and still be able to use our turn brake. In some cases, these master cylinders are only set up to where they have an external reservoir and can only be operated as a turn brake. If you use that style of master cylinder, what you'll have is when you hit the regular brakes, it will end up locking up and come to a full stop on your car. It doesn't have a special valve inside of it. That special valve allows the fluid to bypass this master cylinder and go to the rear brakes while still being able to use the parking brake independently and create sliding when you're going into a turn. The proportioning valve I have set up here solely because I use this vehicle for racing, and I want to be able to change the brake bias from front to rear at any point during a racing condition. If I feel like I have too much braking in the front and I need to add some more braking to the rear, I go ahead and just adjust that brake bias valve right here in cab, and I don't have to worry about trying to access it. Some people mount that under the vehicle towards the rear of the vehicle, and they kind of adjust it and set it. I want to be able to have that adjustment live while I'm driving the vehicle anytime that I have it. That we're running in this thing is a fully custom setup. The Tremec Magnum seemed like it would really hold the power and get us where we wanted to be. The issue is that nobody was putting these things on late model 464 big block motors. So in order to get this Tremec Magnum to mate to this motor was quite a significant battle. We ended up going with a Ram Auto clutch. It's a 10.5 twin disc dual clutch. That makes it to where it has nice light engagement, but can hold extreme amounts of power input, torque and horsepower. Some of these things that we did to the vehicle as we were upgrading it had never been done before in this application. With the narrow ratio transmission, which gives you a tight first, second, and third gear, so you can really get out of the hole hard. It allows you to be able to keep constant medium to high RPM and still be able to accelerate effectively out of a turn. But fourth, fifth, and sixth are more of a drivable gear, so you can get on the freeway, put it in fourth, fifth, and sixth, you get a nice comfortable cruising drive. When we did the cross member for the transmission and the motor mounts, we actually set the motor down 1 inch and moved it rearward 2 inches. So there's no factory mount location on this. The reason why we did that is we wanted to have the weight bias just a little bit different in the car to give us a little bit more rear weight. Again, that's just our build style for this particular car. 454 wheels. These are a 454 mag wheel and a Nitto NTO1. They're a full drag radial. Really helps us stick to the ground. If you run any type of standard street tire, this thing's slipping all over the road. You just can't put the power down. 245, 45 17s in the front, 245, 75 17s in the rear. Just a little bit wider, give you a little bit of stagger and some more meat on the ground on the back end. We've currently got the Wilwood 6-piston 13-inch front kit on this, drilled and slotted. We're running the EBC OE pads on this, so it's gonna have cold bite when you're just driving around town, and then when you get into the aggressive high-speed turns and things like that, the EBC green pad really operates well at the high temperatures, giving us good braking for our extended turning that we're constantly having up here in the streets with our, canyon mountainous type of ranges. So when we're going around those corners 50, 60 miles an hour, and we need to be able to brake and make sure that we're stopping, Wilwood's the way that we go. 6-piston, big brake kits, definitely good for us. The driving experience of this car is very much so, if you don't drive it, it drives you. This car is extremely aggressive, being that it's full manual steering, full manual brakes, it's a manual transmission. Your hands are moving constantly. If it's not shifting or pulling the e-brake while you're drifting through a corner or steering, you're not doing something right. Something that will scare you every time you get in it, that's the car to get into. I've made sure to go through and really set up the suspension and be very particular about how we have that set up, because I do drive this car really hard. I wanted it to be set up for almost road course style driving, but still being able to drift the vehicle because we do a lot of filming with it. So being able to get it sideways through a corner is mandatory. The way that I have it set up, this is my personal preference on the car, is we run a ½ degree toe out for linear straight line braking when I come into a corner. I run 7 degrees positive caster, so I have excellent return to center. And I run 3½ degrees negative camber. That allows me for high-speed cornering. When I go into corners real tight, it gives me good high-speed cornering. We've adjusted the knuckles, and I have custom knuckles made to where I have high-angle steering for when I'm drifting. It doesn't over-rotate on me. That's a big upgrade when you're building any car really, and you're talking about drifting. You need to make sure that those wheels lock over as far as possible. The more steering angle that you can get, the more that you can go into the corner harder, faster, and get the shots that you're looking for out of the vehicle. Robbie Canal came down for us. We were doing a film shoot for a commercial and film that's coming out, Blood Red Snow. We had Robbie first set up, wanted to show him the Madd Maxx and just let him drive it, get a little comfortable with it. So he got in it, fired it up for his first little test drive, went down the road, went through 2 or 3 gears, and came back with a big old smile on his face. was just grinning from ear to ear the whole time that he went out and drove the car. And so the whole experience of having Robbie down was completely surreal. Having him drive one of our cars and coming back and just being ecstatic with it, being able to put a smile on somebody's face that's stared death down the barrel of the gun. You know, he's jumped over some of the biggest jumps and done some of the craziest things that you've ever seen on live television. And for him to come back and give you that type of response to something that you've built is definitely a good feeling.
God, did you create this thing? It's a monster! That was fun.
Being in movies and things like that, it kind of stood out to us that in the film industry, it's had a lot of rough usage. They get out and they film this thing and you got a hammer on it. It goes out there and you don't know who's going to be driving it. You don't know what type of shots they're going to be doing, anything. Road conditions, all that stuff. As we would get it back little by little from these different shoots and different things that would happen, we're like, oh man, there's another dent, there's another ding, there's a hole here, there's something there. As just like a quick patch, because the car's always been flat black, it's always kind of had that rough ambiance to it. Started adding some things that correlated with the overall style and the idea behind the Madd Maxx. So like with the little riveted on panels and things like that, and as you can see the screen cutouts in the hood, things of that nature, we started just adding as damage was occurring to the car. We covered it up and made it look like it was supposed to be there. This one zone that we go into often when we're doing a lot of driving. It's totally awesome. We'd get up, first thing in the morning, drive out way above town and come through these misty canyons. As we're coming up this really narrow canyon, there's a drift on both sides. It was old gold mining country, so there's huge hydraulic mining pits and things like that. And you come up above the pine trees and there's this oak patch that was in this large drift section, and all the oaks have been burned out. In 2002, I believe it was the Star Fire, and it came through there and just torched the whole area out. And talk about a really sinister, evil-looking place when you're up there at 5:30 or 6 in the morning. And you've got all these burned down, creepy trees hanging over the top of you, and the mist is just rolling over the top of the mountain, coming out and lifting up as it's starting to warm up. And driving through that whole area is definitely an awesome view up there.
the abyss after the war to end all wars. Brody's grandfather vowed to bow to no man's law but his own. To live and breathe, to live and die, truly free. They built their world brick by brick, house by house, and for generations their legacy endured. But they lived in a world within a world, and now the outside is closing in. And out there, evil runs amok. And after all the blood and all the horror, there is just one battle left. Brody says, don't do evil. Blood, red snow.